The world is changing fast, in ways that few could have predicted just a decade ago. Every day, the global landscape is being reshaped by new alliances, shifting economic power, and the rise of voices that were once on the margins of international decision-making. The pace of change is relentless, and nowhere is this more evident than in the dramatic transformation of global power structures. At the very center of this transformation stands the expansion of the BRICS group, a coalition that is rapidly redefining what global leadership looks like. What began as a loose partnership among a handful of emerging economies has now evolved into a formidable bloc, one that is actively challenging the status quo. Once just Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, BRICS has now opened its doors to new members from the Middle East, Africa, and beyond. Countries like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Ethiopia are joining the fold, bringing with them fresh perspectives, vast resources, and a desire to shape the future on their own terms. This expansion signals a new era of cooperation among nations that have often felt sidelined by traditional Western powers. This isn't just a bureaucratic update, it's a seismic shift that challenges the Western-led order that's dominated since the Cold War. For decades, the world was largely divided between East and West, with the United States and Europe setting the rules. Now, the emergence of a larger, more diverse BRICS bloc is rewriting those rules, creating a new balance of power that is more inclusive and representative of the world's true diversity. Europe, long a global pillar and a symbol of stability and prosperity, now faces a world where its influence is shrinking and new powers are rising. The continent's leaders are grappling with the reality that their decisions no longer carry the same weight as before, and that they must find new ways to engage with a rapidly changing world. The expanded BRICS bloc now represents a staggering share of the world's population and economic output. With billions of people and some of the fastest-growing economies on the planet, BRICS is demanding a more multipolar world, one where power and opportunity are more evenly distributed, and where the voices of the Global South are finally heard. For many in the Global South, BRICS is more than just a political alliance. It's a symbol of hope. It offers a chance for greater autonomy, for breaking free from the constraints of old systems, and for building a more equitable international order. Leaders and citizens alike see BRICS as a platform to address their unique challenges and aspirations, and to forge partnerships that reflect their own values and priorities. The choices made by both BRICS and Europe in the coming years will be critical. These decisions will shape not only their own futures, but also the global order for generations to come. Will they find ways to cooperate, or will competition define the next era? The world is watching closely, aware that the stakes have never been higher. As this new era unfolds, Europe must adapt to a stage it no longer commands alone. The days of uncontested Western dominance are fading, replaced by a world where influence is shared, and where new voices are helping to write the next chapter of history. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the world will never be the same again. To truly understand the significance of today's BRICS alliance, we need to take a step back and explore how this influential group came to be. The story of BRICS is not just about economics or politics. It's about a changing world order and the rise of new voices on the global stage. The origins of BRICS can be traced back to the early 2000s, a time when the global economy was rapidly shifting. Emerging markets were beginning to challenge the dominance of traditional Western powers, and new opportunities were opening up for countries outside the established elite. In 2001, a Goldman Sachs economist coined the term BRIC to describe Brazil, Russia, India, and China, four nations with fast-growing economies and enormous potential. At first, it was simply an investment term, a way for analysts to talk about the future of global growth. But the idea quickly took on a life of its own. By 2009, these countries had recognized their shared interests and convened the first official BRIC summit. What began as a financial label had transformed into a real-world political partnership, with leaders meeting face-to-face to discuss cooperation and common goals. The following year, in 2010, South Africa was invited to join, expanding the group to BRICS and giving it a crucial presence on the African continent. This move not only diversified the bloc, but also signaled its intention to represent the interests of the Global South. From the very beginning, BRICS set out to reform the global order. not to reject it outright, but to demand a fairer share of influence in institutions like the IMF and World Bank. The group argued that the world's economic and political systems should better reflect the realities of the 21st century, where emerging economies play a much larger role. Over time, the bloc's ambitions have only grown. The recent expansion of BRICS is the clearest sign yet that if existing institutions remain resistant to change, BRICS is prepared to create new frameworks for cooperation and development, ones that are more inclusive and representative. At its core, BRICS's mission is to build a fairer, more balanced international system, one where all voices are heard, and no single country or group dominates the conversation. The latest expansion marks the boldest step yet in that direction, signaling a new era for BRICS and for global cooperation as a whole. Why are so many countries eager to join BRICS? Many in the global south want an alternative to the US-dominated financial system, which they see as giving Washington too much power. BRICS offers development financing without the harsh conditions of Western loans, letting countries pursue their own policies. The new development bank funds infrastructure and sustainable growth, respecting national choices. Membership also boosts diplomatic clout. Smaller nations get a bigger voice by joining forces with giants like China and India. In a world of US-China rivalry, BRICS lets countries avoid picking sides, giving them more flexibility. It's a way to diversify alliances and gain autonomy. For many, BRICS is a ticket to greater influence and independence. That's why the line to join keeps growing. Despite its united front, BRICS is divided over its true purpose. China and Russia push for a bloc that counters Western dominance, building parallel systems in finance and technology. India and Brazil, meanwhile, want to reform the global order from within, not replace it. This split, confrontation versus reform, defines BRICS's future. If the confrontational vision wins, the world could see deeper divisions and new rivalries. If reform prevails, BRICS could bridge the gap between developed and developing worlds. The outcome will shape global stability and cooperation for years to come. The world is watching to see which path BRICS will choose. The expanded BRICS bloc is now an economic powerhouse. By purchasing power parity, BRICS nations surpass the G7 in total GDP, a historic shift. They represent about 45% of the world's population and control vast natural resources, especially with new members like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. This economic might gives BRICS real leverage in global trade and investment. Western nations now face a more level playing field, forcing them to rethink old strategies. As BRICS grows, its decisions ripple across the global economy. The era of unchallenged Western dominance is over. One of the most ambitious and transformative goals set by the BRICS alliance is to reduce their dependence on the US dollar, a process known as De-Dollarization. This initiative is not just a technical financial maneuver. It represents a significant shift in the global economic order, with far-reaching implications for international trade, politics, and power dynamics. For decades, the dollar's dominance has given the United States unparalleled influence over the world economy. This supremacy allows the US to enforce economic sanctions, control global financial flows, and shape international policies to its advantage. Many countries, especially those in the BRICS bloc, see this as an imbalance that needs to be addressed. In response, BRICS nations are increasingly conducting trade in their own currencies. India and the UAE have begun settling major deals in rupees and dirhams, while China is pushing the yuan for energy imports. Brazil and Russia are also exploring similar arrangements, aiming to insulate their economies from dollar fluctuations and external pressures. Beyond currency swaps, the bloc is actively developing a shared payment system designed to bypass Western-controlled networks like SWIFT. This would allow BRICS countries to settle cross-border transactions directly, reducing their vulnerability to sanctions and increasing their financial independence. The push for de-dollarization is about much more than just finance. It's a direct challenge to the geopolitical power that the United States wields through its currency. By building alternative systems, BRICS is signaling its desire for a more balanced and multipolar world order. Of course, the dollar's reign as the world's reserve currency won't end overnight. The global financial system is deeply entrenched, and change will take time. but BRICS is steadily laying the groundwork for a future where multiple currencies share the stage, reducing the dollar's outsized influence. This shift is gradual but unmistakable, and its potential impact on global trade, investment, and diplomacy could be profound. As more countries join the movement, the momentum for de-dollarization continues to build. The era of the greenback as the undisputed king of global finance may be drawing to a close, ushering in a new chapter where economic power is more widely distributed across the world. BRICS's expansion is a strategic game-changer. Adding energy giants like Saudi Arabia and the UAE gives the bloc huge sway over global oil and gas markets. The financial muscle of Gulf sovereign wealth funds adds trillions in investment potential. New members like Egypt, Ethiopia, and Argentina boost BRICS's geographic reach and credibility as the voice of the global south. The expansion dilutes any one member's dominance, making the group more balanced and resilient. As more countries line up to join, BRICS's influence only grows. The bloc is now a true global coalition, not just a club of big economies. This momentum is accelerating the shift to a multipolar world. Europe can't ignore BRICS's rise. Some European leaders want pragmatic engagement, seeing opportunities for business and cooperation on global challenges. Others, especially in the East, view BRICS as a threat to European values and security, calling for a tougher stance. The likely outcome? A mix of competition and cooperation, with Europe balancing its interests carefully. Unity and strategic foresight will be crucial. How Europe responds will shape its relevance in the new global order. The continent's next moves are critical. Experts agree. The unipolar era is over, and a multipolar world is here. BRICS won't replace the West, but it's now a major pole of power. Economists say de-dollarization will be gradual, but the trend is clear. The bloc's diversity is both a strength and a challenge. Internal tensions could limit its impact. If BRICS stays united, its influence will be immense. If not, it risks being just symbolic. The rise of BRICS marks a shift of power from the Atlantic to the rest of the world. The future will be defined by competition, complexity, and the need for adaptation. In this new era, no single voice will dominate. The world will be shaped by many.